The flame of motivation will eventually die, but the habits we build endure.
Motivation feels powerful. It feels like the answer. But motivation doesn't change lives. It fades, it disappears, and when it's gone, most people stop.
In this video, you'll learn why motivation is a trap and what actually drives long-term success. Motivation is, by its very nature, a fleeting and volatile emotional state, making it an incredibly unstable foundation for any long-term endeavor. Most people only feel motivated when conditions are ideal, when their energy is high, their mood is positive, and external resistance is at a minimum. However, this turns motivation into a mere byproduct of circumstance, much like the weather, rather than a reliable strategy. Relying on motivation to achieve a goal is equivalent to choosing to travel only on sunny days. In reality, the path to any significant achievement is frequently clouded by fatigue, stress, and resistance. A work ethic built on emotions is destined to collapse the moment those emotions inevitably shift. Real progress begins at the exact point where an individual severs the link between how they feel and what they must do. Where motivation ends, discipline and systems must take over. The true momentum that leads to success is forged when conditions are poor, energy is low, and internal resistance is at its peak. It is the ability to move forward out of a sense of duty rather than a surge of excitement. If your actions depend solely on your mood, your mind will manufacture 1,000 excuses to keep you within your comfort zone. To achieve sustainable success, you must stop waiting for motivation and instead build routines that function independently of your emotions. The goal is not to feel like doing the work, but to execute it with a resolve that transcends your current emotional state. Our actions and habits are not primarily the products of our internal intentions, but are instead shaped by the architecture of the environments we inhabit. While most people attempt to manage their lives through intentions, these are abstract and fragile concepts that are usually the first to vanish under the weight of stress. If your physical or digital workspace is cluttered with distractions, your brain will instinctively choose the path of least resistance, regardless of how motivated you feel.
The flame of motivation
This is what
will eventually
behavioral
die,
scientists call
but the
choice
habits we
architecture.
build endure.
The silent, invisible forces in your surroundings that predetermine your decisions before you even make them. When success depends on a fleeting feeling like motivation, it remains as fragile as glass. It shatters the moment life becomes difficult. True progress begins when you stop relying on willpower and start building systems that make growth automatic. Building a system means creating structures that allow you to do the right thing without needing to exert mental effort. For example, placing your phone in a different room while you work is not a battle of wills, it is a system. When success is integrated into your daily environment, your progress is no longer tethered to your mood or your stress levels. It continues to produce results like a factory assembly line, regardless of outside conditions. Redesigning your life is not about constantly forcing yourself to be better. It is about creating an undercurrent that naturally pulls you toward your goals. The modern mind accepts the weakness of human intention and relies instead on the undeniable power of the system. The most fundamental driving force in human psychology is the primal need to remain consistent with the internal blueprint we call identity. While most people attempt to change their lives by focusing on external goals, goals are temporary and often fleeting. Identity, however, is the permanent core of our behavior. If you define yourself as a smoker trying to quit, every cigarette you refuse is a grueling battle of willpower. But if you redefine yourself as a non-smoker, refusal is no longer a struggle. It is simply a natural reflection of who you are. When behavior conflicts with identity, the mind experiences intense cognitive dissonance and will inevitably pull you back to the person you believe yourself to be. Therefore, true transformation does not begin with deciding what you want to achieve, but with deciding who you want to become.
The reason real change feels so profoundly uncomfortable is that it requires more than just breaking old habits. It requires the death of your former self. Adopting a new behavior feels like stepping out of a familiar skin into an alien character, and your mind, in an attempt to keep you safe, clings desperately to the old, recognizable identity. This discomfort is actually the friction of growth, where your emerging self clashes with the weight of the past. Those who succeed are not those with the most motivation, but those who provide their brain with small, daily proofs of a new identity through consistent action. You don't do something simply because you want to. You do it because it has become an inseparable part of your being. Once the identity shifts, discipline ceases to be a chore and becomes a way of life. Motivation is like a lightning strike that briefly illuminates a building. It provides a sudden burst of light but cannot banish the darkness permanently. Systems, on the other hand, are the building's electrical wiring, consistent, reliable, and designed to function whenever a switch is flipped, regardless of the weather outside. A mind seeking lasting change must stop asking, "How can I get more fired up?" and start asking, "How can I design an environment that makes willpower unnecessary?" Designing your environment means anticipating your weaknesses and building barriers that prevent them from manifesting. When your kitchen is stocked only with healthy food, eating well is no longer a battle of will. It is the natural consequence of your surroundings. The modern mind accepts the fragility of human resolve and fills that void with environmental architecture. The deepest layer of transformation is the foundation of identity upon which these systems are built. To truly understand your behavior is not just to know what you do, but to decode which self-image those actions serve. Redesigning your life begins with changing the story you tell yourself. When you declare, "I am the type of person who exercises every morning," and equip your environment with systems that support that identity, such as laying out your gear the night before, progress shifts from a struggle to a state of being. The modern mind discipline applies behavioral science to every facet of life, turning accidental successes into systematic victories. Once you master the mechanics of your mind, you cease to be a victim of your impulses and become the chief architect of your destiny.